All right, you can get started.
Okay, I would like to call the December 19th, 2024 meeting of the North Smithfield School Committee and Town Council Annual Joint Meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. Roll call, please.
Chair Bartimoli,
Here.
Mrs. Mayo,
Here.
Mr. Connell,
Here.
De La Cruz,
Here.
Mr. Simpkins.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the joint discussion with Town Council in accordance with Rhode Island General Law 16-2-21.2D. A review of revenue and expenditure projections to prepare for the school fiscal budget 2025-2026. We will turn it over to the superintendent.
Okay, what I can do, I gave you some hard copies. I'm just going to go through some information, and I'm going to start with the good stuff and get increasingly depressing as I go on, especially as we get more towards the financial side. So let me just switch this over. Share screen. Right, so I just want to touch on the academic achievement that we've had recently. So these are the SAT and the Rhode Island Common Assessment scores. And one of the things that I always had an issue whenever the Providence Journal posted assessment scores, and it became this beauty contest with Barrington and East Greenwich at the top. And I always resented that. But I don't, because we're moving up towards the Barrington and East Greenwich. So a lot of people like to know that obviously we have work to do academically in English language arts and math proficiencies. However, it's good to see where we stand against our peers across the state. So for the SAT, this is 11th grade. We scored number 6 in the state for achievement and 14 for growth. For math, 11th and 5th in the state and 5th for growth. The PSAT, the 10th graders, number 6 in the state, and that's 6 out of 36 districts. PSAT math, number 3 out of 36 districts. Now, RICAS is grades 3 through 8. And this year, across Rhode Island and Massachusetts, we do RICAS, Mass does MCAS. They fell across the board, especially in ELA. So for the RICAS ELA, North Smithfield had 54.7% of our students proficient in that assessment. Now, yes, we need to get it up much higher. This is a composite. We've had some grade levels were much higher, a couple were a little bit lower, but that was our composite score. Whereas Rhode Island is 30% proficient, Massachusetts was 39% proficient. So we score also not just in the upper tier of Rhode Island, but also in the upper tier of Massachusetts districts. But the main thing, what was great about that is that for the RICAS, our growth rank for the district, we were number 2 out of 36 districts. We were the second highest, showed the most growth in the state. And taking a look at math, our growth rank again, 58% math, RICAS math, 30% Rhode Island, 41% Massachusetts. Our growth was that we were #1 out of 36 districts, and our students performing better year over year. To break it down by grade level, we can take a look at the different grade levels, where we ranked in the state out of 36 districts for achievement, and where we ranked in the state for growth. So grade 3, 12th in the state. There is no achievement growth data there because they were second graders and tested. 9th and 4th grade, 4th in growth. 2nd or 5th grade, 2nd in the state out of 36 districts, #1 in the state for growth. So these 5th graders had a killer year. Grade 6, #6 in the state, 5th for growth. Grade 7, 3rd in the state, 7th for growth. Grade 8, 6th in the state, 9th for growth. Now in mathematics, 3rd grade was 4th in the state. 4th grade was 10th in the state, 7th for growth. 5th grade, 4th in the state, 3rd for growth. 6th grade, 8th in the state, 3rd for growth. 7th grade, 3rd in the state, 2nd for growth. And 8th grade was 5th in the state and 5th for growth. So academically, our students are achieving and achieving faster than our neighbors around us across the state. Again, still a lot of work to do. I mean, 54 and 58% proficient is not ideal. You know, we need to get that up, and we will. But the whole state and Massachusetts are struggling with the test and with that proficiency level, those proficiency levels as well. Moving on to facilities. One of the things I just want to call out is that we've had over the past couple of years, we've leveraged our fund balance, our revolving fund, the federal ESSER funds, which unfortunately are no longer available, along with other grants and some operational budget. And we've been able to, for capital projects, replace all the windows at the high school, upgraded the air conditioning at the high school library. We did a full library furniture and renovation. The middle school, all new library furniture. NSES, library furniture and renovations. And I'll just back up. NSES, that was through a grant. So we didn't pay for any of that locally. The high school auditorium sound upgrade, which made Kevin and Regina very happy because of the amazing concerts that they put on. And you don't realize, you think, you know, with all those voices, you don't need the sound system. You need the sound system. But that was also paid for through a grant. We didn't pay for any of that. We upgraded the gymnasium PA system, the elementary paging system throughout the building. We replaced furniture at the middle school and the high school, classroom furniture, all new baseball field and softball field renovations, the new throwing areas, new high jump area. The two big ones, the gymnasium floor and the gymnasium bleachers. Now that was also, those two were also eligible for ride reimbursement under Warm Safe Dry. NSES, we had put in a new early childhood playground, half of which was paid for through a grant and money raised. We have new security cameras throughout the buildings, new security access control system for all the doors. A brand new generator at NSES, which also is eligible for ride reimbursement. And we've needed that because NSES has this, we'll talk about it a bit later. They need to keep that water circulating. Otherwise, it starts, a lot of sediment starts getting very heavy. So when we lose power at NSES, we also will lose time in bringing the pipes back to life and flushing out that sediment. So we've also had times in which we've lost power at the elementary school, and it affected the heating system as well. And we've had some water mains break and such, but now The generator is there, so it's going to keep the building, running if the power goes out. We've also, our facilities department has also installed a new media lab at the high school, new business lab, upstairs at the middle school, a new presentation room with furniture. LBC is learning-based classroom. Our special ed students moved it up into a triple the size of the room they had before that and did some renovations, so they have a lot of room to move. A couple of the pictures. If you haven't seen the original gym, that's what it looked like when the floor came out. That's what it looks like now. Actually, that's without the bleachers. Bleachers are in there now. Upgrades at the elementary school. All of this new furniture was also paid for through a grant. And renovating of the high school library. If you remember, it used to be brown walls with brown shelves and brown carpet and brown everything. It's brightened up, it's livened up. There's a lot of meeting spaces. It's a technology upgrade. It's a much different room than what it was going into the summer. All right, so now let's move into more of the financial side. And please, if you have any questions or anything along the way or comments, please interrupt me. So these are state and national educational trends. It's also within North Smithfield. So the increasing need for social services. So the number of students reporting high anxiety levels and depression has risen over the years. Significant increase in students who need emergency referrals, sometimes hospitalizations, sometimes evaluations. But we've seen an increase year over year in students in crisis, families in crisis, not just the students, it's also from the families too. So public school enrollments have been declining over the past decade. Last year, we had a large increase. We were one of 9 or 10 districts that actually had an increase in enrollments. We've had a decrease this year, and we'll get to that. However, some of the demographics and the students are changing. So for example, I inadvertently clicked on that. Okay, good. Homeschooling. So last year in October 1, we had 27 students who were homeschooling. This year, October 1st, we had 46. As of today, we have 54. And I'll drill down into some of those numbers and sort of identify what's happening here, why the increase, the movement towards homeschooling. And again, it's not just North Smithfield, this is statewide, nationally. The diversity, when I started teaching as a MLL teacher, English as a second language. And in my school in Pawtucket, Jenks Junior High, we had 280 MLL students newly arrived, year or two, learning English. That's what I did. When I was in Central Falls, we had 800 students, MLLs. When I started here 9 years ago, we had 9 MLL students. Year over year, the population has changed. And last year we had 30. This year, we have 47. We've had to hire an extra MLL teacher. And this is one of the trends in Rhode Island. Rhode Island is the #1 growth percentage for MLL students. We're #4 overall as far as the amount of students, percentage of students, but for growth, we're #1. Seeing it all through the state, seeing it here in North Smithfield. And again, the students are coming in. They may not have the English language proficiency, but they learn very quickly. We also have a number of these students are children of newly hired people at Amica, at Bryan College. So there is a lot more diversity coming into North Smithfield. And chronic absenteeism is on the rise across the state and across the nation. And we've seen that rise here in North Smithfield, and we put in a lot of incentives and uh, safety nets and anything we can think of to bring the students into the school. And again, I can break that down as to more of the reasons why we're seeing this.
Superintendent, I have a few
Yes.
questions. Thanks.
Please.
Sorry, I have a little bit of a sore throat as well. Do we think that there's a correlation between the number of homeschool students we have and potentially number one, right? So we're saying that we're seeing an increase of students that are reporting high anxiety levels, where we've had to intervene with hospitalizations or clinical evaluations. Do we think that may be driving the number of homeschool?
That is
students?
part of it. So, and when I break down the numbers and show you later on, yes, we're seeing more families choosing homeschooling. First of all, a couple of things. Homeschooling is far more accepted. After COVID,
Right.
you know, homeschooling, a lot of people homeschooled during that time. And a lot of people thought, okay, this works for me, my kids, my family. The homeschool community is quite large and very active. And so, you know, so there's no stigma with homeschooling. No. But we have seen an increase of families choosing to homeschool because of their child's depression or anxiety, the difficulty of getting them to school. You know, and some just say, okay, look, I can't keep fighting this fight. So they switch over to homeschool. We're also seeing an increase in homeschooling sort of on the flip side to truancy and attendance. So we may have students who they're missing school, and it could be for anxiety, it could be for a number of reasons. They're failing, they're not in school. So they're coming up to, all right, you've been absent this amount of time, we have to refer you to truancy court. And so sometimes the response is, okay, I'm just pulling this person out of school and they homeschool. All right, so again, there's a lot of factors. So when we're looking at, we gave the school committee a draft of the budget Tuesday night, and we will be meeting on the 2nd as the school committee budget committee to review everything. We also were keenly aware the state has a $4 million deficit that they have to make up. So we're not exactly sure where state aid to education is going to land. So, and we have a couple of factors in this. Now, first of all, with salaries, which is over half of our entire budget. The North Smithfield Teacher Association, they're already set by contract to get a 2% increase next year. So that is the largest part of the budget. Our teachers will be getting 2%. This is the year that we're going to be negotiating a new 3-year support staff contract. At this stage, we don't know where that's going to land. I mean, we try to make projections, we try to allocate, put some things aside, but it's still an unknown. We're not exactly sure where that will land. And, you know, hopefully we'll get a fair contract and school committee will approve it, pass it on to you folks, and you know, they will get their contract renewed. But also keep in mind that we continuously adjust personnel based on enrollments and needs. So we reduce where we can, but we add where we're needed. Going into next year's budget, at this stage, we've identified, we're not asking for any new staff, and we've identified some areas to cut, but that will also be for the school committee to review. Benefits, that goes up every year, 4, 5, 6%. We firm those numbers up around April. the changing demographics and decrease in student enrollment. So we've had a decrease in enrollment with homeschooling. And I'm going to show you the other area that we had a decrease in enrollment is school choice. Students choosing CTE programs, vocational programs, charter schools. Anyone who leaves us, we lose money. We have to pay for in one way or another, and we lose money. And we've had an increase in school choice folks. And I have that broken down later on. Plus, we have the increase in our more vulnerable students, students in foster care, entering kindergarten with low reading levels, economically disadvantaged children with trauma, speakers of other language, which does require additional supports and services. We I say increasing here, but we've actually have held out of district clinical and residential placements the same as last year. We haven't added to that. We try very hard for those students who have such incredible sociological medical needs that we can't accommodate here at the school. They need highly specialized services. It is very expensive. So an outplacement could run between $80,000 to $130,000 a year for one child. And then you factor in transportation. So not only do we want to keep our kids, no matter their needs, close to their home, their community, which we feel is better for them, but there's only so much we can do, and we have to go out to specialists. So, and that's a line that can fluctuate wildly depending on who moves into the town. Transportation has been a pain. So we're okay with our local transportation. I think we're in second year of a 3-year contract. But even though next year our local transportation budget will go up by about 4 or 5%, it is significantly less than had we pursued an RFP the old way. What we did this time, we combined communities. So North Smithfield, Burrillville, and Smithfield put out a single RFP for transportation. So we got some very good rates based on an economy of scale that we couldn't do alone as North Smithfield. The other piece of transportation is the statewide transportation. So we have a company that does the home to school transportation, school to home. But then we have students who we have to transport to parochial. We have to transport for out of district special education. That has been problematic in that the budget for that, the cost has fluctuated wildly. And we started out this year with this, what we thought was kind of a ridiculous spike. But things are being modified because, I mentioned that we get together with other districts. Well, there's a 6 district consortium, which is North Smithfield, Lincoln, Cumberland, Burrillville, North Providence. We got together and we're pushing back on the statewide transportation and trying to come up with a more equitable and affordable means of doing this. Because we're all hit with the same, it's a statewide contract, Department of Ed put it out. We feel it can be improved, or we need to at least look at efficiencies within our sphere, within our districts, to see if we can do this more effectively and less expensive. Tuitions, like I said, we've had an increase in the amount of families that are opting for school choice. And I can tell you right off the top, for next year's budget, we had to allocate an additional $300,000 for this line, for families choosing to send their kids not to North Smithfield High School, but to a vocational or a CTE program. Then we have our regular, and then every year, as much as we try to limit how many students need out-of-district clinical or residential placements, those tuitions continue to climb every year. So again, we try to keep the kids closer to home with us. General,
Stingy.
yes,
What's the net on that one? It's like, if a kid's coming here and kids going out.
well, I have a slide for that. So we have, yep, for the CTE alone, okay? We have this year 20 go out and 38 in.
Okay.
So our CTEs are offsetting the amount of students who choose another CTE. Cost of living, inflation, insurance, and, services, that all goes up. State educational mandates, Rhode Island, there's a new Rhode Island diploma system and graduation system. And it's forced us to, we have to change a number of schedules around and be very creative with staff because they've added some things to us that we can't afford to hire new teachers to teach these things. So we're doing a bit of a shell game. We're going to meet the ride requirements. We're going to do really well by the kids. But there is an increased burden on the districts to add more programs to their menu. We've held off this year. We do have a high quality, we have used federal funds, ESSER funds, in part to purchase new math curriculum. We're mandated to, new English language curriculum. We've purchased new social studies curriculum, but the science curriculum isn't quite available yet. So we're holding off on that and not putting it into next year's budget, into operational. But that's also going to be something that we're going to have to purchase. And then there's the Right to Read Act, which is, again, fortunately, we've had that federal ESSER money. We've been able to leverage that because I think the initial lift to get our teachers trained in the science of reading, which is a requirement from the state legislature. I think the first pass, it was $400,000. So it was wonderful. Our teachers got this amazing training, and it's a law, but there was no money attached to it. But fortunately, I don't want to say fortunately, there was COVID. But fortunately, there was ESSER money as a result of COVID, which we could use to purchase some of this curriculum. Athletics. We offer more athletic opportunities than any district, any high school of our size. Not questioning that, but it is a heavy lift. It comes with increasing transportation costs, increasing rate of pay for referees, athletic trainers, etc. And this is something I'm trying to find room for. Our coaches, we haven't increased their stipends since I think 2015 or 2016. And so it's something that we really do need to address because our coaches are just fantastic, and they're not doing it for the money, but some degree of equity, compared to other districts would be, I think, most welcome. Now the enrollment. So I update this every year. This is October 1st of every year, going back in time. And the net change at the end. And so 2 years ago, we gained 5 students. We were, like I said, one of 9 or 10 districts that actually had had more students. It didn't get a decline in enrollment. Last year, 44 students extra. And that was because of the most amazingly giant kindergarten to hit our doors in a decade or more. We had to open 2 new kindergarten classes. It wasn't originally in the plans, but you know, we have to adjust as it happens. And so we were hopeful yet alarmed if this year we had the same kindergarten enrollment. But no, we have 80 students in kindergarten as opposed to the 121. But if you take a look at sort of a net decrease, I mean, if you consider, for example, we have 80 kindergartens coming in, they were replacing 133 seniors that graduated. So that's in part smaller kindergarten to replace a larger graduating class, a move towards homeschooling, a move towards school choice. So we have a bit of a decrease. The concern about that is that the funding formula for state aid to education is in one part based on your student enrollment. More students you have, the more comes into the, you know, more is applied to the funding formula. So we're not exactly sure what the funding state aid to education is going to look like next year based on this, based on the deficit in the state. The budget that we've put together that we, you know, school committee is looking over is calling for a level funding from the state, no additional increase. It may decrease. It has in the past. We just don't know. On special education, and what I did, I blocked off these, you know, because I gave the school committee back in October the enrollment projections and presentation. And that was this 24-25 based on the October 1st. But I also ran it for yesterday, just so you can see, even over a short period of time, we have a change. So number of students qualified for IEPs, 265 as of October 1st. We've added five more students qualified. Out of district tuition, out of district, the high need students, we had 13 last year, we're 13 this year. We're trying to keep that number balanced. Transition, these are the kids who stay with us, their special education, they stay with us until they're 22. All right, so last year, we had 7, this year 4, and hey, 1 student aged out. And then services, we also provide special education services for very early childhood, also for homeschooling families. All right, so last year we had 12 services. And like I said, we've had an increase in homeschool, but we still service the children for special education. As of October 1st, we had 15 and 2 more either went into homeschool or qualified.
Mrs. St. Jean?
Yes.
Sorry. Out of district.
Mhm.
We have people coming from out of district to special ed?
There are those we have to send out of district,
Oh, okay.
you know. Again, clinical settings, residential settings, really the most severe students.
Okay.
And you can see the change for the English language speakers. We were 30 in October last year, 47 this year, and within a short period of time, we're up to 54. And 504, this is not special ed, but accommodations, academic accommodations, other things for students requiring some additional supports, but not IEP, not special ed. And you can see 118, and even just since October 1st, we've added more.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
before we move on?
Sure.
I keep coming back to the district enrollment history as of October 1st and how we have this change in 2024 of 26 students, right? So we've decreased by 26 students. That includes
Yes.
homeschooling, but it also includes students who, I guess, determine that they would like to go to another school.
Correct.
Do we understand why they're choosing to go to other schools?
Oh, yeah, we talk with them and their families, with the guidance counselors, and ranges from the CTE programs. We will have students who are interested in a certain career pathway
Okay.
that's offered in another district. All right, so they choose to go to that district. We pay tuition for the student to go to that district. Yeah, I do sign off on it. Now, there is a way. There are some that we can say no to.
Okay.
Because they're offering the same program, that same CTE that we have here. So if we have a business program here, why are we paying for you to go to a business program there? All right, I'm going to try to put this nicely. So the state, right, recognizes that it doesn't seem quite right to have to pay tuition to have a student go to a substantially similar program. And so they put a list together of substantially similar programs. If North Smithfield High School was listed along with 2 or 3 or 4 other schools, substantially similar, we do not have to pay for a student to go to that program. North Smithfield High School is not listed on any listing of substantially similar programs. The state is very far behind building this list. So, for example, if I had a student who wanted to go to Pontiac, Pontiac has a tremendous amount of CTEs. If they put in, I want to go there for business, I want to go there for music, I can't say no. I can try to talk them out of it, but I can't say no because it's not listed as substantially similar programs. And then we will then pay $15,000 to $18,000 for that student to go to Pontiac. We also have students who, and I've had this, families, where they would put in first choice business, second choice agriculture. Pontiac. I would say, no, we have a business program. Have you come in? Have you seen it? Have you seen what DECA does? All of this. And then they change it to agriculture because we don't offer that. So we have to pay for it. A lot of it isn't. I know of families of students who have chosen other CTEs or charters because they have friends there, because girlfriend is there, because they want to play athletics over there, that they're sick of the people that they've gone to school with all their life over here and they want to, go somewhere new. It's more than just academic programs. Yes.
How do we, sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
And this isn't anything new. I used to call them jumpers.
Mhm.
Here, there, everywhere, in during one school year.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't last very long. How about people? There's a state ruling as far as where you lay your head. There's a relative in that town, and I don't know if the state's changed it. But we've had people being dropped off, and we caught some.
We catch them. Yeah.
And
We
they've done
have a
this for
residency
3,
officer.
4, 5 years doing this.
Mhm.
Before people where they really live got on the phone and said it was up. If we made it clear about this jumping business and they can't justify it, that they should be made, maybe to begin with, financially responsible for this.
Mhm.
May make them think twice. I know of a girl, and she thought it was great. She was all over the state in 1 year.
Mhm.
The parents went along with it, and she got nowhere.
Right.
So couldn't we work on the state level, say, this better be straight up? Because if not, you will be financially responsible for this.
And actually, and from a residency standpoint, we do have a residency officer who will visit homes. We can, if we find that somebody has been in our district illegally, yes, we can charge tuition. They usually then leave. So, but, and this is jumping ahead. This is also another little a change within North Smithfield. And again, it's other communities too. We have more multi-generational households in the past couple of years than we've had before. This is where young couple, they're married, they have a couple of kids, and they're trying to save for a house, but they can't afford it. Grandma is in town, she has a big house, they come here to live with grandma, and they enroll the kids in the schools.
Well, that,
Which is legit. All right.
absolutely.
You know, but with real estate prices being so high, we have more and more multi-generational households within North Smithfield.
It seems like the opportunity, though, is to see if we could get North Smithfield on that list that says that we have similar programs to
Yes.
other schools.
Yeah,
in
and
the
this is
state.
something as an organization, the Rhode Island Superintendent's Association, we're pushing that.
Okay.
To get that updated.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is it's brutal. And I'll break down with some of the numbers next. So
Excuse me, Superintendent. can I
Yes.
just interject one? Madam Chairman, can I interject? Can I interject on that?
Sure.
To follow on that. Just to close that, because I've seen a lot of the state. I agree with everything the superintendent said. Councilperson O'Hara, you said about we use them at the state level. Well, you have to go down to the state house and testify at the hearings. Or, meet with the reps and the senators. That's where it's done. Yeah, we can't do this deal at the state here. We have to go down there. And going, Councilman Christopher, when you were asking about the charters and also like, I know you mentioned Pontiac-Gansett,
Mhm.
Charahoe's another one. I used to be a teacher years ago myself, and if a kid really, this is a negative, if a kid really wants to go to another school, they can stay, because like you said, as the superintendent said, I want to go there because they have their business program. We have a business program. Well, I want to go there because they have I want the agriculture program, with the business program. We don't have the agriculture program. I mean, you can find a way
Mhm.
if you really want to go. I mean, hopefully you're sincere when you do it. But like our philosophy has been, places like Charahoe and Pontiac and Davies too, have very big facilities. And they can offer a myriad of vocational programs that we can't. We have a balance in our favor because what our focus is on is trying to make like an attractive here and the programs we have attractive. In other words, we're not going to compete with somebody who wants to do auto shop at Pontiac. We're not going to compete with that. So our philosophy has been, and really been for the last few years, to try to build up the programs we have and add increments. So that's what I just want to say. So you say, how do you keep, if a kid really wants to go, they can go. But so what you do is you make it our philosophy's been make here attractive to certain things and keep the balance going, attract kids as opposed to trying to prevent them. I think if you're trying to prevent kids to go somewhere who really want to go, that's a losing battle. The thing is to try and make people want to be here and want to stay here. More of our
Absolutely.
philosophy.
Thank you. Yes.
And everyone.
So here's the homeschooling. So October 46, 54 as of yesterday. Now, here's the breakdown. So the 54, it's actually 34 families that are choosing homeschool. So multiple kids. 32 of these students never set foot into our school. They were always homeschoolers. We have people that moved into the community. They check in with us. They'll, to update homeschooling. But in their previous community, they were homeschoolers as well. So of the 54 students, 22 are more recently within the past couple of years have opted for homeschooling. And the breakdown is elementary, 24 elementary age kids are homeschooling, middle school 12, and high school 18. Mr. Tempkey, yes, sir.
So 32 have always homeschooled, but if we look at last year, we had 27 total. So last year, what was that number of students that were always homeschooled?
I'd have to go break that down as well. I know we have had some families move in this year who were always homeschooled. I'll break that down. I'll get that for you. And then charter, CTE, and vocational. All right, so here's the out of district school. Here's the year, the totals for that year. Okay, so we did see an increase in the students going to Beacon this year. Davies, 11 students, 7 were there last year. And again, I didn't break this. I have other charts which have, you know, by grade level, and this is just a summary table. The other big one is Rise Mayoral Prep. So there were 10 additional students that went to Rise this year. However, I can keep checking with that, you know, updating that monthly, because we also have a lot of students who come back to us from Rise. They go there, they try it out, doesn't work, they come back. So last year we had 67 students who were in CTE charters or vocationals. This year, 97. So we had 48 new students go for school choice this year, as opposed to last year was 26 new. And the breakdown is 61 charter, 16 vocational, CTEs are 20. Now, CTEs on our side, we have 38, currently 38 students in out of district students from other communities who are at North Smithfield High School.
Thinking, couple questions about this. So could you just remind us which schools are part of the Northwest Consortium?
All right, so, and that's actually, I'm glad you asked this, because there's something else that can add to that. So it's North Smithfield, Burrillville, Lincoln, Cumberland, North Providence. With the CTEs that we offer within our consortium, we charge a flat $5,000 tuition. So our student decides to go to Burrillville for a program, it's $5,000. Kid from Smithfield comes into us, it's $5,000. Kid from Woonsocket comes to us, it's $17,000 or $18,000. They're not part of our consortium and part of our agreement. So our districts around us, just like we collaborate on transportation bids or other things, we help each other. We don't want to financially break each other's backs.
How much if they're outside of the consortium?
So the average CTE, Lisa or Alicia, it varies. It's like 17, 18,000. 15,000.
So the consortium helps to mitigate some of the costs.
Yes.
With students going out of district.
Right.
And apart from like the charter schools and vocational schools, you know, we see a consistent rise in kids going to Pontigansett. Is there an opportunity to add them to the consortium?
Ooh, they hate us.
They don't want.
They don't want to be in part of any consortium. They're raking it in.
They
No,
started this.
no. And I can say that because I was best friend. Yeah, I was great friends with the previous superintendent. He sort of mentored me when I started over here, even though I despised him professionally. So.
So my two other questions about this. So the consortium, right? We talked about the busing contract being up
Yes.
next year, right? We've got another year on it. And the previous RFP involved 3 districts.
Yes.
Sort of, doing the group RFP. Is when that's due for renewal, is there an opportunity to involve more of those schools? who are
It
part of
would
that
be our
group?
hope. Our 3 just happened to be up at the same time. And Burrville and us, we've been using the same bus company, but we've actually the RFP was done separately. We just happened, we ended up, but this time we decided to add to it. So for one of the other districts to jump on board, they would have to make an adjustment to their contract, which sometimes, they have contracts that have a extra year or 2 extension. So maybe somebody will need to extend it for a year to jump on board with us, but that's the hope. So we just try to do this with everything that we can.
And then my last question, the kids who are coming into district for
Mhm.
CTEs, which CTEs are they coming here?
It's usually the business first, then probably engineering and then music.
Thank you.
All right, and that, let me stop this. So I gave you a lot of information,
Excellent.
some of it good, some of it positive, some of it is, okay, we got to work on it. So at this stage, I know there's questions. I know a couple of questions you're most likely going to ask. Is anyone going to ask a question about the PFAS? About the water?
I was.
Yes, I thought so.
And the status on essentially the resolving the contamination.
So the level, we have well number 1 and well number 2. Well number 2 is out by the athletic field. That's the problem. Not necessarily related to the athletic field, right? But that well has the problem. Well number 1 is the original well, which is in good shape. It's like less 1 part per trillion. We are eligible for a $650,000 grant to put in a filtration system next to the pump house by the high school. And so it's we're going through the financial application for this, and we're just ready to hit send. When something new came up, which sort of changed things, we got contacted by the Department of Health and said, hey, would you consider something else than a great big charcoal filtration system? We said, okay, what's that? Apparently, the Department of Health is already working with the North Smithfield water supply, and there's a plan to run water to the fire station, to Primrose. Department of Health said, hey, if they're going to run town water to Primrose, why not run it a little further to the high school, middle school? Right now, that's sort of a possibility. And the $650,000, and I asked, okay, what happens with the $650,000 grant? It is used towards extending the town's water to the high school, the middle school, which would mean we could close out well number 2, even well number 1, which means we don't have to have a very expensive charcoal filtration system going into the building. So that's a possibility right now. So we're working on, Department of Health is working on that possibility, which I think would be quite the game changer, because I mean, one of the things outside of the PFAS, the water here is so hard. It does a job on our pipes and appliances, and we have to treat it, manage it, maintain it. It is a lot of mineral in it. It's clean, it's great to, it's good to drink, but it's it has a toll on the plumbing. So, we're probably going to be meeting with them once we get back from, I think, January 2nd is the meet time that we're looking at.
Did you say Department of Health is involved in bringing water to the Primrose Fire Station? Is that what you
They're
said?
involved, yeah.
Scary.
So, and so that kind of put the brakes on a few things, just to see how that piece plays out. But we were told that, I mean, as it is now, the balance of the water from well one and well two, what comes into the school, certainly well below threshold, that the state put on that 20 parts per trillion. It's about 11 parts per trillion. The water's fine here. But this is looking at a long-term solution in remediation.
Huge project.
Who's this talking with? Where's that water gonna come from?
Yeah, good.
Where's there the nearest water supply that's gonna come from, go to Primrose?
I don't know. We're gonna find
Gonna
out.
be
We're
at
gonna,
the
we're,
Woonsocket
yeah,
intersection.
we're
where
gonna,
Beef Barn
we're
goes,
gonna
right?
find that out.
You know anything about this, Administrator?
That's a kind of a game changer for a lot of people.
That's a huge game changer.
This is why we put the brakes on. I think they're looking at investigating that possibility.
The highway?
Is it at?
She just said it at the highway.
All right.
It's still.
Yeah. So I take it they haven't talked to the town?
No.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Now you learn.
Well, if we hear you right, a lot of it could be covered by this grant,
Could be.
so. Negligible costs to the town and the school department.
I was just director of the division for the Department of Health, put this out as a possibility. There were some conversations they had with North Smithfield Water Supply, put this out as a possibility, and I said, yeah, I think we should investigate it. And so that's where we are right now. I did ask, I said, okay, if we're holding up and we're seeing what's happening over here, are we going to be outside of the window to get that $650,000 grant? And they said, nope, absolutely not. You're in the window. It's already allocated to you. It's just a matter of how it's going to be spent.
So, I've got a couple of questions. So you're talking about these grants that you guys get. How are you so successful with grants? Where are you getting who does your grant write?
Ourselves,
You don't have a grant writer, you
No.
guys doing it yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe we could borrow
Yeah. It sounds like you're doing a great job.
it.
it's not as good as I used to do in Pawtucket and Central Falls. Now, in Pawtucket, I could write a grant and get $1 million. That was a lot easier. North Smithfield, it's not as easy to get those same grants.
And why does a child leaving to go to homeschool, why does that cost school money?
Because when we report our enrollment to the state, they're not part of the funding formula.
Well, do we have obligations for those kids, like supplies or books or anything like that?
No, we do have special ed obligations. They're able to play interscholastic sports with us. But no,
How are they regulated? Do they have to report to the state for their grades? Like, how
there is
does
no
that-
regulation.
There's,
We get a letter at the end of the year saying that so-and-so completed all of the required work in English, math, science, social studies, etc., and was present every day.
there's like they have logins and the office, like how does
It varies. I mean, there's some do it online, some at home, some are little community things.
Yeah, they really only have to submit attendance. and they can submit it in a, how do they submit it? A variety of ways, but just a spreadsheet, a letter, a chart about attendance.
Do they walk at graduation?
So it's just completely separate. So we don't oversee a curriculum. They get to choose their own curriculum and their own studies.
And do we have data to understand of, those that are homeschooled? Do they continue education versus our students after graduation? Do they continue?
No, we really honestly don't have a lot of contact with our homeschool
Okay.
families.
That would be interesting.
And there are some that's what they don't want contact with us.
Right.
They don't want to be part of the public education system. And others that we work with that ask for help, and we'll give help if
Mhm.
someone's asking like, oh, can you give me some tips about a math program or something, we'll offer to sit with families and have those conversations.
When it comes to the homeschool, Madam Chairman,
You want to move the,
when it comes to the homeschool association, like a few reps have come in over the years, looked at maybe trying to do a little more regulation, but the National Homeschool Association is litigated and they have cases that they've won in every state. We look at this. Their batting average is like 1,000. It's an absolute right to homeschool. It's an absolute right to have very little oversight. And no one has to say why they're homeschooling. It's just an absolute right. And they have won this in case after case throughout, not just, they've got a couple of cases in Rhode Island. It's funny, if you look them up on their website, they have a few cases in every state. They've made their precedent. It's really it's very clear.
Yeah.
They have absolute right and,
Mhm.
we don't, they can tell us where they're going. Some of them, they can go to school, but they don't, homeschool parents can be as involved with the school and but they don't have to. It's just not required. It's their right to choose.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with homeschooling, but when I think back to some of the information that you provided initially, where there's a correlation between, kids who come to school, there's a sense of anxiety. Do we have any programs that can better support those children so that they don't resort to homeschool?
we do. I mean, there are, Claire, if you want to.
Sure, we have a variety of supports based on the needs of the students, but we have social workers, we have counselors. We have special education programs depending on the needs of the student, and we provide those supports. We have attendance initiatives that welcoming students to school, and we, depending on the family or depending on the child is what we target or employ, but we definitely support students and engage them. And we, some of our initiatives, one of them this year that is grant funded is for clubs. And so we're running after school clubs, and we have about 36 at the middle school and 36 clubs at the high school. And they go from archery to knitting to a cooking club, and our teachers run them for a small stipend. And it's really to engage our students and come and be part of the school in just a variety of ways. And it's there's the Taylor Swift Club. Dungeons and Dragons Club. If you think of a club, we probably have it. But so those are some of the ways to engage our students. But we definitely talk about student engagement regularly. And typically the students that are homeschooled, it really is a specific need. If they're not coming to school, and it could be a medical problem.
But there are some, when I was at Harlow, fifth grade, I had family come in, happened to know grandfather, small town. And they were homeschooled. I went to what we were having, I said, look, and then they came to participate with the art program. They came in to participate, what they said for sure. And one other, I don't remember. And they would do independent projects and came and would present it to our class.
Mhm.
So they were coming, parents were wonderful.
Hmm.
And it was a choice, not because there were needs, because the family wanted the girl.
Right.
And they were very religious at the same time, which may
So
have been.
some of that still happens. It's just very rare.
So this one was sent to me
Mhm.
by a couple of coaches,
Okay,
and they said that there was an incident at the gym where they, on the new floor, there was water leaking from the roof on a rainy day, to the point where if there was a game there, they would have had to cancel the game. Can you address that? If there's any, that's addressed?
yeah, remember that day that it rained about 5 inches and there were 50-mile-an-hour winds. It blew the rain into the ventilation system, which worked itself through. And in one of the vents, there was a little pinhole and it dripped out of that. So, yeah, Alan, he actually, the coaches pointed it out to him and he had somebody come in, check it out, saw where it was coming from and sealed that. But it was, yeah, because it was also that day in which, because I just had that surgery, I was supposed to go over to my mother's and crawl around her roof because she gets rained in her vent system and leaks on the ceiling. So it was from there.
Okay, so it's
It's also,
pass it.
but I will tell you, and you'll see this when we do capital, we're moving into the point where we need to replace our roofs. So we have some estimates for it and there have been patching, there's been, but this roof here is original. So we have pricing and things we're looking at for either just continue to patch, to restore it, or to replace.
How many square feet is this building?
Hey, Alan, I think we have somebody who's going to, in his head, calculate how much it costs to replace the roof.
How many square feet is this building?
This building's 110,000 square feet. About that, same as they're all about the same, 110,000, 115,000 square feet.
So what's your estimate?
6 million?
Now,
No,
well, it depends when you bid it out.
for this and that.
Oh, for both schools?
Yeah,
I don't think it's, I think it was 3 million for the high school and there was a low and high, and I'm not sure what the
I'll
number
tell you
is.
exactly, actually.
I might give you a number today, but it's not gonna mean anything because by the time you bid it out, it'll be a few years.
But one of the things that, again, it's the heavy lift, do what we can. It is eligible for reimbursement, so we'll get 35% back.
The other thing is if you wait too long, if the insulation gets saturated, then you can't reuse the insulation. You could possibly go over the existing roof the way it is now. I'm gonna be doing some infrared testing on the roof in the spring, just to see if it's wet anywhere. And like, that'll give me a better idea as far as the condition of the high school roof. And if you can reuse the insulation. There's a lot of things you can do. So it's premature right now to come up with any sort of hard number. But, you will need a new roof. You know, even with this building, and same with the elementary school eventually, so.
Any more facility specific questions before Alan decides to not be in the spotlight? Because
We use aluminum for roofing on the building.
I'm sorry?
Can we use aluminum on these buildings?
I can hear the comments.
Aluminum product.
On the
it's
roof?
flat.
No, it's rubber with, there's aluminum siding, there's aluminum flashing, but it's staying, I should
I
say,
know it's up there, but could we
Yeah.
use the other, which is?
no, you want to put rubber roofing.
can we
You
put
wanna-
solar up there?
There's no solar, we have solar for hot water at the high school, you know, that supplements some of it, but there's not solar on this roof right now.
Is it relatively open or a lot of obstructions?
There's a lot of obstruction, all of the HVAC systems on the roof, you know, so.
Another thing that we had talked about last year at this time was air conditioning for at least this
I
building.
thought it was. I
So,
thought money was a lot of that.
well, so Alan, I don't know if you want to address that because this building is a little short of what it takes to do
Yeah,
affordable
well,
air conditioning.
you'd have to reduct the whole building to put air conditioning in there. I could put air conditioning in the gym. I can change the unit, I'll put it in the gym, but to put air conditioning in the classrooms, you would have to reduct the whole building. All they did was put exhaust vents in this building. You're talking like, between $5 and $9 million, but why they didn't put it in from the beginning, I wasn't here, so I don't know.
Any more facilities fund questions?
No, I just thought they told us that they could put air in here because they had prepped to that point, that when we had the money to just be picked up.
No, well, they prepped to that point with the gym, that's about it,
That was it.
Yeah.
But that's
not the classrooms.
Good.
no.
I think we were hopeful that they had,
Yeah,
and then we had them actually crawl around up there and see, okay, it wasn't exactly what we
Okay,
thought it
so,
was.
all right.
we did a study on it, the study came back that, it's not there.
There was discussion at one point about extending the high school parking lot in order to help mitigate some of the on-street parking. I haven't heard any noise on that in some time. Is there?
So, yeah, that's over at the athletic field, and that also, you. No, it wasn't you. You brought this up. The 200-foot radius, from the wellhead. And so now what we ended up with is this weird cart before a horse and such. Yes, that parking was, it didn't encroach on the 200-foot radius. It needed a little schematic change. It was easy enough to do.
Mission accomplished.
You would think. So, but we were asked to, because we have the other well thing going up there, let's have the Department of Health, their engineers, check it out, sign off on it now. And, it's good to do, but DOH doesn't quite operate that way or that quickly. What we had out there was a design build that we were going to have people actually design it, do all the permitting, do all of these things before construction. And if for some reason we couldn't extend it, we weren't out any money. But we had the request to have DOH look into it and sign off on it. And then there was a lot of back and forth with the Department of Health. And then this whole new idea of tapping into town water came up, which then it doesn't matter back there. Well, it doesn't. But so that's why it was on hold. And here's the other thing, and as I told these folks too, as we started time started going on and we started going into the September, October, November, I didn't want, for the October school committee meeting, I could have probably had all that information and ready to go to vote on it. But it was the last meeting, November meeting of the current school committee, of the town council. I thought it would be better just to, okay, see what happens with the town water thing. And then let a new group take a look at it.
One more question.
Sure.
This is something that I bring up every so often.
Mhm.
The school does a great job with, kids that are going off to college.
Yeah.
Really fantastic job. My daughter, ended up in college with 6 credits already under her belt. which
That's
is-
right.
It's a big help.
Save you money too.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's a big help for
It is.
the freshman year.
Absolutely.
Like that course load. But what about the kids? I know they do a great job for the kids that want to go to college, but what are we doing for the kids who don't want to go to college? And I know that they can go off to another school, go to CTEs if they want to do that,
Mhm.
but a lot of them are not gonna want to leave their friends.
No, of course not.
Especially in North Smithfield,
Yeah.
they're kindergarten with these kids.
That's right.
So what are we doing for these kids who are not going to college?
All right, so, we have our CTE programs. Anyone can do those. Oh, wrong button. Don't break that. Let me just pop over here. So you have the state sponsored, not sponsored, endorsed CTE programs, career technical. But we also have in the schools, career concentration. I mean, we can't take kids from other districts to do any of these. But we've identified a few career concentrations, and there's a couple of things like public policy, materials and manufacturing, visual arts. So if I pop down to say materials and manufacturing, we have an exploring technology. There's an intro to engineering. They only have to take 3 of these 4. An intro to business and college accounting. Right? So, but within that, there is, you know, it is geared with projects and information towards construction, manufacturing, design, fabrication, welding. Within this concentration, our students do routing and shop bot. They do welding. They do we have woodworking, 3D printing, designing and building, and robotics. Right. So we do have, and we're moving in more hands-on, you know, skill-based opportunities for students who aren't necessarily heading off to college.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
There's nothing wrong with not going to college.
No, not at all.
100%, right?
No, of course.
So at some of the award ceremonies, I don't know if it's graduation, but some of the award ceremonies, when the kids are talking, you know,
Yes, I know where you're going. Yeah.
So when the kids are going across and getting their award, they'll say, and going to Duke or going.
Yes, yes.
And then they'll say for the other kids, and entering
There's-
the workforce. It seems kind of,
Yeah,
it seems kind of, it puts a negative connotation
I
to
get
it.
that. Yeah.
I think that it would be better if you just eliminated that whole aspect of this one's going to college, this one's entering the workforce.
That's a good point.
You know, because it
Yeah.
just makes it seem like, oh, they're entering the workforce. But
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that,
No,
you know?
I was mentoring one of a graduate, and he had an interest in photography, so I was his mentor, and we went out behind the library and, you know, taking pictures and all that. He is right now working with his grandfather and learning his business. His grandfather and his father is an electrician. That's what he wants to do. He's incredibly happy, and it is fantastic. What's that?
The union.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, no, absolutely. And so we support our kids in any endeavor, any direction that they want to take as best as we can with such a small school. But a small school also has those advantages of getting lost in a bigger school with more programs. And so it's why people make some of the choices. Thank you.
Mr. St. Jean, this might be a naive question, but I'm new. Related to Mr. Beauregard's question earlier about homeschooling,
Mhm.
kids who homeschool, you know, doesn't that just a net zero cost or, you know, benefit or whatever? Is it generally a net positive for us to have more students? I know that we have the state funding formula per
Mhm.
student, we're gonna get so much. But you mentioned, you know, a kindergarten class of 44 kids coming in, was that a couple of years ago? And we have to hire 2 new teachers to support that.
Yeah,
right?
that's preschool is usually 44. It was the kindergarten class, which was 120 billion. So, yeah.
Okay.
So whether it's homeschooling or charters, I can tell you, I mean, you know, we're in competition with Rise Mayoral. But if Rise Mayoral Academy were to shut down and those kids had to come back, we'd have to build a new school. We wouldn't have physical space. So, you know, there's a balance in all of this.
With Rise, I know there was an issue, they were looking to raise the age and the grades. Did that pass?
So where we left off was that Rise was looking for, they were looking to expand to high school.
Correct.
They go up to 8th grade. And North Smithfield at the time, because we feed Rise, voted no, we're not participating. We're not sending our kids to the new high school. Barraville also went the same direction. We're not sending our kids to Rise Mayoral. So we're not part of their catchment. I don't know where they left off, if they're still constructing or expanding, or who signed up with them.
I think today in the Valley Breeze, there was an article that, they're looking to now convert it to a charter school
Yes.
that would change the dynamics. But that's in the Valley Breeze today,
Okay,
right? Mhm.
they were not getting a warm reception, so,
No, not from the town.
no. No, definitely not from Woonsocket. We're not, Woonsocket's not happy with us or our CTEs all around them either, because they're, we have, next year, I think even for next year, we have, already some pre-applications from 10 families, from Good Shepherd. Instead of going to Woonsocket High School. Good Shepherd.
Is there any plan to expand our CTE offering?
We look at it off and on. It's really, they don't make it easy to bring up a new CTE program. Also, again, we're a small school. There's only so many we can offer.
There's quite a bit of management with CTE as far as the regulations and funding with the Department of Ed. So it is a handful. That wouldn't necessarily stop us, though. We like to roll up our sleeves, but what I find is that most students across the state don't go to CTE for the program, they go for the school. And so we could, offer another CTE. But quite frankly, we have students that we don't accept. We have applicants that we don't accept to our program because we have, pretty high standards for our program. So, if we wanted more, we could literally just let in more, but we also have, a high bar because of the way the CTE is set up and the courses that the students have to take in order to, pass the courses. So, yeah, so it's a balance. And so I don't know necessarily adding more, we would to get more students. We wouldn't necessarily need to, we would just accept them. And we also talk about, as far as the number of students that we would accept into our program is based on the size of our 8th grade. And so when we know next year we have 135 8th graders, it's a larger class. If we have a 8th grade of 107 students going up to the high school, we could accept a lot more. So we do it based on the numbers at the high school and also keep pretty high standards.
So the kids in the CTE, do they have to have the same English, math?
Mhm.
As everyone else?
Yes.
They do. So they take their regular course load, but instead of having just take a variety of electives, their electives are chosen for them. So if you're in a pre-engineering, you take that coursework. And so our students who are in the pre-engineering program take the same, coursework if they're in the CTE. But you also can be a North Smithfield High School student and take a pre-engineering course without being in the CTE, and you can just attain it as a credit. As an
So
elective.
they're basically like an elective.
Yeah, yep. But if you want to go with the full CT route and get sometimes certifications come with it, then they can go that route. And you had mentioned earlier about students going into the workforce and what we offer for our students when we designed the pre-engineering CTE. We really designed it for the student that would possibly want to study engineering in a 4-year college, or the student that would want to graduate from high school and get some type of technician type job, career, and start working at the age of 18 and apply to a cable company. And so we're trying to have that one CT, but have a couple paths for the students to take it. Unfortunately, the Department of Ed has such strict qualifications for the CTs that some of our more struggling students wouldn't necessarily be able to pass some of the math courses that you have to take within the engineering. So it's a balance, but we work through it with students.
Thanks.
I was waiting for the zinger. Right, thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. It's kind of last minute with Christmas, not even a week away. But if there are any other questions, reach out. We just, as the superintendent said, we just got our budget books. I think some of us maybe opened the cover. But again, everything is moving numbers. We can't pin it down for quite a while, but we do our best.
You don't already have a date for the budget committee, do you?
We're meeting on January 2nd
Mhm.
for our first meeting. And it will be Mr. Connell, myself, and Mr. De La Cruz, who will sit down and start the process.
But that's not the town budget.
That's not the
That's not
town,
with
but
the
that's
town.
our,
Yeah.
that's
Sub
our
committee.
budget.
Because we have to have it to you for the January meeting, all of you,
Correct.
and then that goes over to you first week of February.
Which again, it's a moving number with a lot of blanks.
But as our chair said, any questions, follow-up questions? I gave you some of that information. We have and anything else you need to know or you're curious about, just send an email and ask.
Can I just ask for one request? So I know the last couple of years, the number came to the council, went to the budget committee, it was a lower number and then it raised like the week before. Can you just kind of go back like the last 3 or 4 years and just let us know what your original request was? What the last request was into adopting the budget? And then if there was any surplus or deficit in that year, just give us that like last 4 years maybe. Okay.
You know, she is retiring.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, Alicia will be
Yeah.
your girl.
Congratulations. To both of you.
Sure.
You know, just off of Allison, you know, if you want to, a good way to learn about the school is to come into it. I don't get to the elementary school that much. I don't have kids in the elementary school anymore, but I used to go in there. But I go in every year, like I read a couple of weeks ago in one of the classes. I just come in one morning, read a couple of stories to the kids and come out. They're always looking for volunteers. They're doing career day at the high school in a few weeks and they're looking for people to come.
I was
in.
going to
So,
say that.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcome to go
Yeah.
to the career day at the high school.
And
There's
there's
from all business, all
Read a story to the
Walks,
kids.
yeah.
Nothing like going into the building and seeing it during a school day to know what's going on. You know, call up on your volunteer, you let them know ahead, I'm not to show up, you know, but it's good. You go in and see a normal day just by yourself with to do something or a career day, and they have judging of projects. And you can you can learn a lot just by going in and doing that once, even just for an hour.
February 13th is career day at the high school,
And they're
the
looking,
career fair there.
and they're looking at people. They look at the people, so come in. So,
I got an email about it the other day.
Good.
encourage you to take a look.
What time's that begin?
I don't know yet. Yes, I do know. I'll find out in a second.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you
Yeah.
could send us like a schedule of
sure.
anything that we could participate.
We do have up on the website.
It's be around 8 o'clock. It says set up at 7:45. 8 o'clock, maybe.
Yeah, all the schools, the district and the schools have a listing, a calendar of upcoming events. So let's just go to the high school.
There's an activities.
Yeah. Oh, I am at the high school.
You go to the district.
Yeah, so there's the high school itself, but at the district level. There it is. The upcoming events and Click here. You can go nuts. Now, and just, yeah. Skip Netflix, go see a game, go to, in fact, we're missing the holiday concert next door. So anyway, everything going on is there.
Thank you. But,
You get it tomorrow.
right.
So again, if there is anything, please reach out. And I will say this, which I think we probably will need to get together. This is my feeling as far as I know there's been a lot of talk out in the world that we have the contract managing the field. And I think at some point, the town and the school needs to discuss how do we manage that concession stand? It was the town council that passed it. We did not include the school to ask, how are you going to take care of it? So I think it has to be a combination of town and school, how we're going to do it. We have one more year on the contract.
Mhm.
And we probably need to start looking at that prior to that contract expiring. So creative ideas, what are we going to do? But on the wide world of indoor sports, managing,
February 26th. One more year,
That's the deal. in session.
yes.
yes. So I do think at this point, we need to have both committees discuss it, try and come up with something that works for everybody.
Do
Okay,
we have a culinary CTE program yet?
No, unfortunately not.
and it's so involved. I mean, I was involved when Pacheco Park opened their concession stand. Luckily, we had a mom who had a food handler's license. My person who helped me was Wayne Naradoe, whose family owned the Village Haven. And parents were much more involved with volunteering. We don't get that amount of volunteers. We can't put it on our students. They may have part-time jobs. They have commitments with school and family. We can't rely on that. So we've got to come up with a creative answer. Is there anything else?
So we can reach out if we have any other questions.
Sure.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, do you both need to officially close? Yeah.
Yes. So motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Whoops, go ahead.
No, I'm making the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Adjourn to a second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.